The ship hit the ground hard. Metal screamed against rock as Captain Lisa Martinez fought to keep her crew alive. Sparks flew from broken controls. The lights went out. Then came silence. Amy Chen picked herself up from the floor. Her head hurt, but she was alive. Around her, the other crew members were getting up too. Vera cursed as she checked the engine room. The damage was bad. They would not be flying anywhere soon. "Everyone okay?" Lisa called out. She had a cut on her forehead, but her voice was steady. That was why Amy trusted her as captain. "I am functional," said Kaisha in her formal way. The reptilian woman never used simple words when big ones would do. Her scales had turned pale with stress. Amy looked out the broken window. The planet Xerion Prime stretched before them. Red rocks and purple plants covered the land. Strange trees with silver bark grew in twisted shapes. This was not a friendly place for humans. "How long until rescue?" Amy asked. Lisa checked her equipment. 3 days if we're lucky, maybe a week. Vera shook her head. "The engine is dead. We need parts we don't have." They set up camp outside the ship. The air was thin but breathable. Amy's scanner showed the local life forms were mostly small and harmless. Mostly. She did not like that word when it came to alien planets. As night fell, Lisa posted guards. Amy volunteered for the first watch. She loved studying new worlds, even dangerous ones. The stars here were different. 3 moons hung in the sky like silver coins. Something moved in the darkness beyond their camp. Amy gripped her scanner tighter. The screen showed a large heat signature moving fast. Too fast to be one of the slow creatures they had seen during the day. "Contact," Amy whispered into her radio. "Something big is out there." Lisa's voice crackled back. "Stay calm. Keep watching." The heat signature stopped. Amy stared at the screen. Whatever it was smart enough to know it had been spotted. That worried her more than if it had kept coming. Morning came without. "Attack!" Amy felt tired but alert. Lisa called them together for a meeting. "We need better protection," the captain said. "This planet has predators, big ones." "I could set up some basic defenses," Vera offered. Kaisha consulted her datapad. Local records show this planet has dangerous night hunters. They are called shadow stalkers. Amy shivered. She did not like the sound of that name. "We need help," Lisa decided. Professional help. That afternoon, help arrived. Amy was collecting plant samples near the camp when she heard footsteps. Light, footsteps that barely made sound on the rocky ground. She looked up and saw a figure approaching their camp. The stranger was tall and moved like a dancer, or like a predator. Amy could not tell which. As the figure got closer, she saw it was a woman, but not a human woman. The elf had long silver hair tied back in a practical style. Her clothes were dark leather and metal, designed for fighting. A sword hung at her side along with knives and tools Amy did not recognize. Her skin was pale with a slight blue tint. Her ears came to sharp points, but it was her eyes that made Amy stare. They were bright green like emeralds, and they seemed to see everything at once. When those eyes looked at Amy, she felt like she was being measured for weakness. "I am Zara Moonwhisper," the elf said to Lisa. Her voice was cool and controlled. "I heard your ship crashed. You need protection." Lisa nodded. "What do you charge?" "Passage off this planet when your rescue comes, plus 5,000 credits. "That's expensive." Zara smiled, but it was not a warm smile. "Staying alive is expensive. Dying is free." While Lisa and Zara talked business, Amy tried to focus on her work. But she kept glancing at the elf. Amy had studied many alien species, but she had never seen an elf up close. They were rare in human space. The negotiations went on for an hour. Finally, Lisa agreed to Zara's terms. The elf would protect them until rescue arrived. "I will set up my camp nearby," Zara said. "Do not wander far from your ship after dark. The shadow stalkers hunt at night." Amy watched Zara walk away. The elf moved without sound, like she was floating just above the ground. In minutes, she had disappeared into the rocky landscape. That evening, Amy finished her sample collection early. She wanted to study the local ecosystem while there was still light. The plants here were unlike anything she had seen before. Some grew in spirals that defied logic. Others seemed to glow with their own light. She followed a stream that ran near their camp. The water was clean and cold. Small fish-like creatures swam in it. They had too many fins and eyes that glowed red. Amy took pictures and made notes. The stream led her further from camp than she meant to go. When she looked up, she realized she was lost. The red rocks all looked the same. Panic started to build in her chest. Then she saw the tent. It was small and well hidden among the rocks. Dark green fabric that blended with the shadows. If Amy had not been looking for the stream, she would have walked right past it. This had to be Zara's camp. Amy knew she should leave. The elf had made it clear she wanted to be left alone. But Amy's scientific curiosity was stronger than her common sense. She crept closer to the tent. Maybe she could learn something about elf culture. It was a rare chance to observe an elf in her natural environment. The tent flap was partially open. Amy could see inside. She told herself she was just making sure Zara was safe. That was her excuse for looking. What she saw made her breath catch. In her throat, Zara was removing her armor. Piece by piece, the metal and leather came off. Underneath, the elf wore a simple shirt that clung to her lean form. Her arms were covered in tattoos that seemed to move in the flickering light of a small camp stove. The tattoos told stories. Amy could see battle scenes, strange symbols, and creatures she did not recognize. Some were old and faded. Others looked fresh. Each one marked a moment in a life that had lasted centuries. Scars crossed Zara's arms and shoulders. Small ones from knives. Long ones from swords. A burn mark that looked like it came from energy weapons. This elf had seen more battles than most soldiers saw in 10 lifetimes. But what struck Amy most was how graceful Zara looked. Even removing armor, she moved like she was performing a dance. Every motion was smooth and controlled, deadly and beautiful. At the same time, Amy knew she should look away. This was private, personal, but she could not stop watching. There was something hypnotic about the way Zara moved, something that made Amy's heart beat faster. Then Zara stopped moving. The elf's head turned toward the tent opening. Those green eyes looked right at Amy. For a moment, neither of them moved. Amy felt like a small animal caught by a hawk. Zara moved faster than Amy thought possible. 1 second she was across the tent. The next, she was at the opening with a knife in her hand. The blade was at Amy's throat before the human could even think about running. "You saw nothing, human," Zara said. Her voice was deadly quiet. Amy tried to speak but only managed to squeak. The knife was sharp against her skin. One wrong move and it would all be over. But as they stared at each other, something changed in Zara's eyes. The killing intent faded. Maybe she realized Amy was not a threat. Maybe she saw the fear and curiosity mixed together in Amy's face. "I'm sorry," Amy managed to whisper. "I was looking for the stream. I got lost." Zara studied her for a long moment. Then she stepped back and put the knife away. "The stream is that way," she said, pointing. "Do not get lost again." Amy nodded and backed away. Her legs felt weak. When she was far enough away, she turned and ran toward camp. Behind her, she heard Zara's voice carried on the wind. "Curious little scientist." Amy did not stop running until she reached the ship. Amy could not sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Zara's green gaze and the knife at her throat. But more than fear, she felt something else. Curiosity. The elf was like nothing she had ever encountered. Lisa found her sitting by the broken engine at dawn. "You look tired." "Could not sleep," Amy admitted. "New planet. Strange sounds." Lisa nodded. "Zara warned us about the night hunters. Said they get more active as the moons get brighter." As if summoned by her name, Zara appeared at the edge of camp. She moved so quietly that even Lisa jumped a little. The elf carried fresh water and some kind of purple fruit. The water here is safe, Zara said, setting down the containers. These fruits will give you energy. Do not eat the red ones, they will make you sick. Thank you, Lisa said. That's very helpful. Zara's eyes found Amy. There was no anger there, but Amy felt her cheeks get warm anyway. The xenobiologist should stay closer to camp. This planet has many dangers for the curious. Amy nodded, not trusting her voice. What kind of dangers? Vera asked. She was always practical about threats. Shadow stalkers hunt in packs, Zara explained. They are smart. They watch their prey for days before attacking. There are also rock vipers that hide in cracks. Their bite will kill you in minutes. Kaisha made a note on her datapad. Most concerning. How do you know so much about this planet? I have been here before, Zara said. Many times. Rich people pay well to hunt the shadow stalkers. I keep them alive long enough to get their trophies. Amy found her voice. That seems dangerous. Zara looked at her with something that might have been amusement. Everything worth doing is dangerous, scientist. The day passed quietly. Amy stayed close to camp and worked on her samples. But she kept watching Zara. The elf checked their defenses, set up warning devices around the camp, and disappeared for hours at a time to scout the area. When Zara returned from her afternoon patrol, her face was serious. We have a problem, she told Lisa. There is a pack of shadow stalkers moving this way. 6 of them, maybe more. When will they arrive? Lisa asked. Tonight, when the moons are highest. Vera looked up from her repairs. Can we hold them off? If you do exactly what I tell you, Zara said. These creatures are not like anything you have faced before. They are smart, fast, and they work together. Amy felt her stomach drop. What do they look like? You do not want to know, Zara said. Just remember, stay in the light. They hate bright light. And whatever you do, do not run. Running triggers their hunting instinct. As darkness fell, Zara arranged their defenses. She had them build fires in a circle around the camp. The flames cast dancing shadows on the rocks. Everyone had a job. Lisa and Kaisha watched the north. Vera covered the south. Amy was told to stay in the center with the emergency beacon. What about you? Amy asked Zara. I hunt the hunters, Zara said. She checked her weapons one more time. Sword, knives, and something that looked like a crossbow but made of metal Amy did not recognize. The waiting was the worst part. Amy tried to focus on her scanner, but the screen showed heat signatures moving all around them. The shadow stalkers were circling, staying just outside the firelight. There, Kaisha whispered, pointing to the darkness. Amy saw them then. Eyes that reflected the firelight like mirrors. They were big, bigger than any predator she had studied. Low to the ground but long like giant cats, but wrong somehow. Their shapes seemed to shift and blur in the shadows. 6 confirmed, Zara said quietly. Wait for my signal. The attack came fast. The shadow stalkers rushed from 3 directions at once. They moved like liquid darkness flowing between the rocks. Their eyes were the only thing solid about them. Zara was faster. She leaped over the fire and met the first creature head-on. Her sword flashed in the firelight. The creature screamed, a sound like tearing metal, and fell back. But there were more. Too many. One shadow stalker broke through on Vera's side. The engineer shot it with her plasma rifle, but the creature kept coming. Its claws were as long as knives. Amy acted without thinking. She grabbed her portable lab equipment and threw it at the creature. The chemical analyzer broke open, spilling acid across the shadow stalker's face. The creature howled and stumbled back. Good thinking, Vera yelled, finishing the creature with another shot. The battle lasted only minutes, but it felt like hours. When it was over, 3 shadow stalkers were dead. The others had run back into the darkness. Zara cleaned her sword with quick, efficient movements. She had blood on her armor, but Amy could not tell if it was hers or the creature's. They will not come back tonight, Zara said, but we need better defenses. That acid trick was smart, Vera told Amy. Quick thinking under pressure. Amy felt proud and scared at the same time. Just lucky I had the right chemicals. Zara looked at her with new interest. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. You were prepared. Later, as the others tried to sleep, Amy found herself on watch duty with Zara. The elf sat perfectly, still like a statue, but Amy could tell she was alert to every sound. "Thank you," Amy said quietly, "for protecting us." Zara did not answer right away. When she did, her voice was softer than usual. "Your species is strange. You are weak individually, but you adapt quickly. That acid defense, I would not have thought of it. We survive by working together," Amy said, "and by being curious about everything." "Curiosity killed the cat," Zara said, "but satisfaction brought it back." Amy finished the old saying. Zara turned to look at her. "You are not afraid of me." It was not a question, but Amy answered anyway. "I was. When you had the knife, but not now. You should be afraid. I am dangerous." Amy considered this. So are shadow stalkers. So is this whole planet. Being afraid of everything would make it hard to do my job. And what is your job? To learn, to understand, to find out how life works in all its forms. Amy paused. Including elves. Zara was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Most humans see my people as either myths or threats. You see us as something to study. Is that bad? It is different." The next morning brought new problems. Their emergency beacon was damaged in the fight. Kaisha worked on it, but the repairs would take time. "How long for rescue now?" Amy asked. "Lisa." "Unknown. Could be days. Could be weeks." Zara overheard. "Then we need better shelter. The weather here changes fast. Storms come without warning." She was right. By afternoon, dark clouds gathered on the horizon. The wind picked up, carrying dust and the smell of rain. "There are caves nearby," Zara said. "Natural shelter. But we will have to leave the ship." Lisa made the hard choice. "Pack the essentials. We move in 1 hour." The caves were deeper than Amy expected. Zara led them through narrow passages to a large chamber with smooth walls. Someone had been here before. Ancient symbols covered the stone. "What is this place?" Amy asked, running her hands over the markings. "Old ruins," Zara said. "This planet had civilization once, long before humans reached the stars." Amy pulled out her scanner and started recording the symbols. They were unlike anything in the databases. This could be a major discovery. "Focus on survival first," Zara warned. "Discovery second." But Amy was already lost in her work. The symbols seemed to tell a story. Pictures of different species working together. Building something. Creating something beautiful. The storm hit that night. Rain pounded the cave entrance like drums. Lightning lit up the sky. But inside, they were safe and dry. "Good call on the caves," Vera told Zara. The elf nodded. "This planet teaches you to read the signs or it kills you." Amy set up her small lab in one corner of the cave. The ancient symbols fascinated her. She took pictures and made notes by the light of her portable lamp. "What do you think they mean?" she asked Zara. The elf came over to look. Stories, warnings, maps. The ancients liked to leave messages for those who came after. "Can you read them?" "Some. My people have long memories. We remember the old languages." Amy felt excitement build in her chest. This was why she became a xenobiologist. Moments like this when the universe revealed its secrets. "Will you teach me?" she asked. Zara studied her face in the lamplight. "Why do you want to know?" "Because knowledge is how we grow, how we become better than we were." "And what if the knowledge is dangerous?" Amy met her green eyes. "Then we learn to handle the danger." For the first time since they met, Zara smiled. It was small, but it was real. "Very well, curious scientist, but we start with simple words. The dangerous knowledge comes later." As the storm raged outside, Amy and Zara sat together in the ancient cave. The elf taught her the symbols for basic concepts: life, death, hope, fear. Amy learned quickly. She had always been good with languages, but this felt different, like she was learning more than just words. She was learning about Zara's people, their history, their way of seeing the world. "You are a good student," Zara said as Amy successfully translated her first complete sentence. "You are a good teacher," Amy replied. Outside, thunder shook the cave, but inside, two very different beings found common ground in the pursuit of knowledge. The storm would pass, but something had changed between them, something that would make the days ahead very interesting indeed. The storm lasted 3 days. Thunder echoed through the caves like the voices of angry gods. Rain fell so hard it sounded like stones hitting the ground. But inside their shelter, Amy and her crew stayed dry and safe. Amy spent the time learning more about the ancient symbols. Zara proved to be a patient teacher, though she still kept her distance from the others. The elf seemed more comfortable with Amy than with Lisa or the rest of the crew. "Why do you trust me?" Amy asked on the second day. They were working together to translate a long passage about star navigation. Zara paused in her explanation. "You do not fear what you do not understand. You try to learn instead. That is rare. Even among humans. Especially among humans. Most of your species shoots first and asks questions later." Amy thought about this. "Maybe you have met the wrong humans." "Maybe," Zara agreed. "Or maybe you are the wrong human to judge your species by." On the third morning, the storm finally stopped. But when they went to check their ship, they found bad news. The rain had flooded the lower levels. Much of their equipment was damaged beyond repair. "The beacon is completely dead," Kaisha reported. "Water got into the main circuits." Lisa cursed under her breath. "How long to fix it?" "Days, maybe weeks, if we can fix it at all." Vera kicked a piece of debris. "We need parts, specialized parts, the kind you do not find lying around on alien planets." Zara listened to their discussion with a thoughtful expression. "There may be another way," she said finally. "What kind of way?" Lisa asked. "These ruins go deeper than just caves. The ancients built a whole city underground. If they were as advanced as these symbols suggest, they might have technology we can use." Amy felt excitement bubble up in her chest. "You mean explore the ruins? Study a lost civilization?" "I mean survive," Zara corrected. "But yes, we explore." Lisa considered the options: stay here and hope for rescue that might never come, or venture into unknown ruins that could be dangerous. It was not much of a choice. "What kind of dangers are we talking about?" she asked. "Unknown," Zara admitted. "The ruins have been sealed for thousands of years. Anything could be down there." "Anything helpful could be down there too," Amy pointed out. Lisa made her decision. "We explore, but carefully, and we stick together." They spent the morning preparing. Vera rigged portable lights and motion scanners. Kaisha downloaded everything they knew about ancient technology to her portable data pad. Amy packed her field, equipment, and sample containers. Zara checked her weapons and added a few more knives to her collection. "Stay behind me," she told the group. "Do not touch anything unless I say it is safe. And if I tell you to run, you run." The entrance to the deeper ruins was hidden behind a wall of symbols. Zara studied them for several minutes before pressing her hand to a specific pattern. The wall slid open with a grinding sound that echoed through the chambers. "How did you know how to do that?" Amy asked. "Lucky guess," Zara said. But Amy noticed she did not meet her eyes when she said it. The passage beyond was wide and smooth. The walls were covered in more symbols, but these were different, more complex. They seemed to glow faintly in the light from their portable lamps. "The air is clean," Vera reported, checking her scanner. "Whatever keeps this place ventilated is still working." They walked for what felt like hours through corridors and chambers. The architecture was beautiful, but alien. Curves instead of straight lines. Patterns that hurt to look at too long. Everything was built on a scale for beings larger than humans. "Who were they?" Amy whispered. Her voice echoed strangely in the empty halls. The builders called themselves the Harmony, Zara said. They brought many species together to build this place. But something went wrong. They all disappeared in a single night. How do you know that? Lisa asked. Zara was quiet for a moment. My people remember. We were here when it happened. Amy felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. Your people were here, thousands of years ago? Elves live a long time. We pass down stories through many generations. This place is mentioned in our oldest songs. They reached a large chamber with a domed ceiling. The walls were covered in moving pictures that showed the history of the Harmony. Different species working together, building ships that could travel between stars, creating art and music and scientific wonders. It is beautiful, Amy breathed, but Zara was tense. Too beautiful. Something is wrong. As if her words triggered it, the chamber suddenly came alive. Lights flashed on the walls, mechanical sounds echoed from hidden passages, and from somewhere, in the darkness came a humming noise that made Amy's teeth ache. Defense systems, Zara said grimly. Still active after all this time. Metal shapes emerged from the walls. They looked like spiders made of silver and crystal. Their eyes glowed red as they scanned the intruders. Are they hostile? Lisa asked, slowly reaching for her weapon. The answer came when the nearest spider thing shot a beam of energy that scorched the floor where Lisa had been standing. She dove behind a pillar as more beams filled the air. Very hostile, she called out. Zara was already moving. She rolled between the energy beams and came up with her sword in hand. The blade seemed to glow with its own light as she swung it. At the nearest defender, the metal spider exploded in a shower of sparks. But there were more, many more. The patterns, Amy yelled over the sound of energy weapons. Look at the wall patterns, they are not random. She was right. The symbols on the walls formed a map of the chamber, and they showed safe paths between the defense systems. Follow the blue lines, Amy shouted, pointing to symbols that glowed with soft blue light. Lisa and Vera understood immediately. They moved along the safe paths while Zara fought the mechanical defenders. Kaisha used her technical skills to jam some of the robot sensors. But there were too many defenders. They were being overwhelmed. Amy made a desperate decision. She ran toward the center of the chamber where a large crystal pulsed with energy. It had to be the control system. Amy, no, Zara yelled. A spider defender blocked Amy's path. Its energy beam charged to fire. Amy closed her eyes and waited for the end. Instead, she heard the sound of breaking metal. Zara had thrown herself between Amy and the defender. The elf's armor was smoking from the energy hit, but she was still fighting. The crystal, Zara gasped. Break the crystal. Amy grabbed a heavy piece of debris and threw it at the pulsing crystal. It shattered in a cascade of light and sound. The defenders stopped, moving. The energy weapons powered down. Silence returned to the chamber. Zara collapsed to one knee. Her armor was cracked and burned. Amy could see blood seeping through the damage. You saved me, Amy said, kneeling beside the injured elf. You saved all of us, Zara replied. That was smart thinking under pressure. Amy helped Zara to her feet. The elf was heavier than she looked, all muscle and dense bone. Can you walk? I can do whatever I need to do, Zara said. But she leaned on Amy more than she probably wanted to admit. With the defenses down, they could explore the chamber safely. What they found amazed them. The Harmony had built technology that was centuries ahead of anything humans or elves had achieved. Look at this, Vera breathed, examining what looked like a power generator the size of a briefcase. This could run our ship for years. Kaisha found communication equipment that could send messages across the galaxy instantly. With this, we could contact rescue ships directly. But Amy was drawn to the historical records. Holographic displays showed the last days of the Harmony. She watched as the different species worked together to solve some great crisis. But something went wrong. The records cut off abruptly. What happened to them? She asked Zara. The elf was sitting against a wall, letting Amy bandage her wounds. Pride. They thought they could control forces beyond their understanding. The universe taught them otherwise. Is that why your people do not work with other species? Zara looked at her with those green eyes that seemed to see everything. My people learned to be careful. Perhaps too careful. Amy finished treating Zara's injuries. The elf would live, but she needed rest. We should make camp here tonight, figure out how to use this technology. Lisa agreed. They set up a temporary camp in the chamber. Vera and Kaisha worked on adapting the alien technology to their needs. Lisa kept watch at the entrance. Amy sat with Zara, making sure the elf's wounds were healing properly. The ancient chamber was quiet now, but she could feel the weight of history around them. Your people were wrong about humans, Amy said softly. How so? You said we shoot first and ask questions later. But look at what we did today. We worked together. We learned from each other. We solved problems we could not solve alone. Zara considered this. Perhaps some humans are different. Perhaps some elves are too. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Around them, the holographic displays continued to show the history of the harmony. Stories of cooperation and discovery. Of what could be accomplished when different species worked together. The harmony tried to build a perfect society, Zara said eventually. They failed because they ignored the darker parts of their nature. But maybe they were not entirely wrong. Maybe working together is worth the risk. Amy looked at her with surprise. That is quite a change of opinion. You humans have a saying, actions speak louder than words. Today your actions spoke very loudly. So, did yours. You could have let me face that defender alone. The ancient technology worked better than they had hoped. Vera managed to adapt the power cells to boost their communication range. Kaisha got the message system working and sent out distress signals to any ships in the area, but the response was not what they wanted to hear. Rescue ships are delayed, Kaisha reported, her formal voice hiding her disappointment. Major solar storm activity is blocking safe hyperspace travel. Estimated delay is 2 to 3 weeks. Lisa rubbed her forehead. That is longer than our supplies will last. We can hunt, Zara said. She was feeling better after a night of rest, though Amy noticed she still moved carefully. This planet has plenty of food if you know where to look. And you know where to look? Vera asked. I have survived here before. They set up a permanent camp in the ancient chamber. It was safer than the surface, and the alien technology provided power and clean water. Amy found herself settling into a routine that felt surprisingly natural. Mornings were for gathering food and supplies. Zara taught them which plants were safe to eat and which streams had the cleanest water. Amy helped by testing everything with her scientific equipment to make sure. Afternoons were for exploration. The ruins went on for miles underground. Every day they found new chambers with different technologies and historical records. Amy filled notebook after notebook with observations. Evenings were for sharing knowledge. Zara continued teaching Amy the ancient languages. Amy shared what she learned about the Harmony civilization. The others contributed their own skills and discoveries. It was during one of these evening sessions that Amy made a disturbing discovery. Look at this, she said, projecting a holographic display for everyone to see. I found more records about what happened to the Harmony. The display showed the final days of the civilization. Different species arguing. Accusations of betrayal. Technology being used as weapons instead of tools for building. They turned on each other, Lisa observed. But why? Amy asked. They had everything. Peace, prosperity, scientific advancement. Zara studied the images with a grim expression. Fear. Someone discovered a threat from outside their system. A hostile alien force was coming, but instead of working together to face it, they blamed each other for attracting the danger. The holographic records showed the bitter end. Ships fleeing in all directions, weapons firing at former allies. The great city abandoned as its builders scattered to the stars. The threat they feared never came, Zara added quietly. My people watched from a distance. The Harmony destroyed itself for nothing. Amy felt a chill run down her spine. How do you know so much about this? Zara was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft. Because my ancestor, was one of the survivors. She escaped with a small group of elves and humans. They tried to rebuild somewhere else, but the trust was broken. Eventually, the species went their separate ways. That is why elves avoid other species, Amy realized. You remember what happened here. We remember that cooperation is dangerous, that trust can be betrayed, that it is safer to be alone. Amy looked around at their small group. Humans, an elf and a reptilian alien working together in the ruins of a failed civilization. But we are cooperating. We trust each other. Do we? Zara asked. What happens when the real test comes? 2 days later, they got their answer. Amy was working alone in a side chamber, cataloging ancient artifacts when she felt dizzy. At first, she thought it was just fatigue. But the dizziness got worse. Her vision blurred. Her hands started shaking. She tried to call for help, but her voice came out as a whisper. The room spun around her. She collapsed next to a table covered in alien devices. Zara found her an hour later. Amy! The elf's voice seemed to come from very far away. What happened? Amy tried to explain, but the words would not come out right. Everything felt wrong. Like her body was not working properly. Zara lifted her easily and carried her back to the main chamber. Amy had never realized how strong the elf was until she felt those arms around her. She is sick, Zara announced to the others. Something is wrong. Vera scanned Amy with the medical equipment. Her temperature is too high. Heart rate is irregular. I am not seeing any obvious cause. Could it be something she ate? Lisa asked. Or something she touched, Kaisha suggested. These ruins contain many unknown substances. Amy tried to tell them about the artifacts she had been studying, but she could only manage weak gestures. Zara seemed to understand anyway. Show me where you were working, she told Amy. With Zara's help, Amy pointed toward the side chamber. The elf left her with the others and went to investigate. She came back carrying one of the devices Amy had been cataloging. It looked like a crystal sculpture, but it pulsed with soft blue light. This is a memory crystal, Zara said. The ancients used them to store experiences and knowledge, but they are dangerous to touch without proper training. Can you help her? Lisa asked. Zara set the crystal down carefully. Maybe, but I will need to access her memories to see what damage was done. It is risky. What kind of risky? Vera demanded. I could get trapped in her mind, or she could get trapped in mine. Memory crystals are unpredictable. Amy managed to grab Zara's hand. She could not speak clearly, but she tried to communicate with her eyes. She trusted Zara. Whatever the risk, she needed help. Zara understood. I will try, she said. The elf placed her hands on Amy's forehead and closed her eyes. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Zara's breathing became deep and rhythmic. Her face relaxed into an expression Amy had never seen before. What followed was the strangest experience of Amy's life. She found herself floating in a space that was not quite real. Images and sensations flowed around her like water. Memories that were not hers mixed with her own thoughts. She saw Zara as a young elf, barely out of childhood, learning to fight from an older warrior. She felt the elf's determination to prove herself worthy of her clan's respect. She experienced Zara's first battle, the fear and excitement mixed together, the pride in surviving, the pain of losing friends to enemy weapons. She lived through decades of Zara's life in minutes, the gradual realization that her people saw her as different, too willing to work with other species, too curious about the outside world. She felt the loneliness of being an outcast, the choice to become a mercenary rather than conform to elven expectations, the years of traveling alone through dangerous places. But she also felt something else. Zara's hidden kindness. Her desire to protect the innocent, even when they were not her own people. Her secret hope that someday she might find others who understood her. And she felt Zara's surprise at meeting Amy. The way the human's fearless curiosity reminded her of her younger self. The growing attraction that scared her more than any physical danger. Amy realized that Zara was not just helping her heal. The elf was sharing her deepest secrets, her most private thoughts and feelings. It was an act of trust that went beyond anything Amy had imagined possible. Gradually, the visions faded. Amy found herself back in her own body, lying on a blanket in the ancient chamber. Her fever was gone. Her vision was clear. She felt weak, but alive. Zara sat nearby, looking exhausted. The mind link had drained her badly. "How do you feel?" Lisa asked. "Better," Amy said. Her voice was hoarse but functional. "Much better." "What happened in there?" Vera asked Zara. The elf did not answer immediately. She was looking at Amy with an expression that mixed relief and vulnerability. The crystal had tried to download too much information into her mind at once. Zara explained finally. "I helped her sort through it and remove the harmful data. It was the truth, but not the whole truth." Amy understood that Zara was keeping the personal parts of their experience private. The elf's trust was a gift that Amy would treasure and protect. Over the next few days, Amy recovered her strength. But something had changed between her and Zara. They did not speak about what had happened during the mind link, but they did not need to. They understood each other in a way that went beyond words. Amy found herself watching Zara with new eyes. She saw past the elf's cold exterior to the lonely person underneath. She noticed the small kindnesses that Zara showed when she thought no one was looking. The way she made sure everyone had enough food. How she always took the most dangerous watch shifts. Zara seemed different too, less guarded, more willing to participate in their evening discussions. She even smiled occasionally when Amy made a particularly clever observation about the ancient technology. "You are feeling better," Zara observed one evening as they worked together to translate a complex historical text. "Thanks to you," Amy replied. "You saved my life. You would have done the same for me." Amy thought about this. "Yes, I would have." "Why?" It was a simple question, but Amy realized the answer was complex. "Because that is what partners do. They look out for each other." Zara considered this. "Partners. Do you not like that word?" "I have never had a partner before, only employers. Only people who paid me to risk my life for their goals." Amy set down her translation notes and looked directly at Zara. "What we have is different. We choose to work together. We choose to trust each other. No payment required." "And what do we get in return?" Amy smiled. "Each other. Someone who understands. Someone who shares the load." Zara was quiet for a long time, then she said, "Your species continues to surprise me." "Good surprises?" "The best kind." The message came at dawn on their 15th day in the ruins. Kaisha was monitoring the communication equipment when the signal came through, strong and clear. "Rescue ships are approaching," she announced to the sleeping camp. "Estimated arrival in 6 hours." Amy felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. Relief that they would finally be safe. Sadness that their time together in the ancient city was coming to an end. She looked over at Zara, who was already awake and checking her weapons. The elf's face showed no emotion, but Amy had learned to read the subtle signs, the tension in her shoulders, the way she avoided eye contact. Zara was pulling back into herself, preparing for separation. "We should pack everything important," Lisa said, stretching as she got up. "Scientific samples, technology we can carry, personal gear." The next few hours passed in a blur of activity. Amy carefully packed her research notes and samples from the ancient civilization. Vera selected the most useful pieces of alien technology. Kaisha backed up all their communication records. But Amy's attention kept drifting to Zara. The elf worked efficiently, as always, but she seemed distant. Like she was already gone in her mind. When the rescue ships finally arrived, they came in force. 3 vessels dropped out of hyperspace and landed near the ruins. Captain Martinez recognized the lead ship immediately. "That is the Stellar Wind," she said with a smile. "Captain Brooks is an old friend of mine." The reunion was joyful but hectic. Captain Brooks and his crew were amazed by the ancient technology and the story of their survival. Medical teams checked everyone for injuries and alien diseases. Scientists began cataloging Amy's discoveries. In all the chaos, Amy lost track of Zara. She found the elf later, standing alone at the edge of the landing site. Zara was watching the rescue ships with an unreadable expression. "Are you leaving?" Amy asked quietly. "My contract is complete," Zara replied without turning around. "You are safe. I have fulfilled my obligations. What about our partnership?" Now Zara did turn to look at her. "You have a life to return to, research to complete, a career with your own species. And you have what? More lonely missions on dangerous planets?" Zara's jaw tightened. "It is what I know, what I am good at." Amy stepped closer. "You are good at many things, including being a friend. Friends are a luxury I cannot afford." "Why not?" "Because friends get hurt, because trust gets broken, because eventually, everyone leaves." Amy felt her heart break a little. She understood now what Zara was really afraid of. Not physical danger, not alien threats, but the risk of caring about someone and losing them. "I am not leaving," Amy said firmly. "Your rescue ship says otherwise. Then I will not get on the rescue ship." Zara stared at her in shock. "That is insane. You have a life waiting for you. I have a life right here, with you, if you want it." Before Zara could respond, Captain Brooks approached them. He was a tall man with graying hair and kind eyes. "Dr. Chen," he said, "we are ready to depart whenever you are." Amy looked at Zara, then back at Captain Brooks. "Actually, I need to discuss some things with my partner first." "Partner?" Brooks looked confused. "Zara Moonwhisper. She is the reason we survived, and she is the reason I want to stay." Brooks' eyebrows rose. "Stay? Dr. Chen, your research position requires you to return to headquarters for debriefing. Then I resign." The words surprised Amy as much as they surprised everyone else, but once she said them, she knew they were right. Zara grabbed her arm. "Amy, you cannot throw away your career for me. I am not throwing it away. I am choosing something better." Amy smiled. "Besides, someone needs to study this planet properly. The ancient ruins alone could take years to explore fully." Captain Brooks looked between them with growing understanding. "I see. And you are planning to do this research together?" "If my partner agrees," Amy said, looking at Zara hopefully. Zara was quiet for a long moment. Amy could see the war going on behind those green eyes. Fear fighting against hope. Loneliness battling with the possibility of companionship. "It would be dangerous," Zara said finally. "I know. We would be alone for long periods. No backup. No support. I understand. You could die," Amy smiled. "I could die crossing the street back home. At least this way I would die doing something meaningful." Zara looked at her for a long time. Then, slowly, she began to smile too. "You are completely insane. Is that a yes?" "That is a yes, Captain." Brooks cleared his throat. "Well, this is highly irregular, but if you are determined to stay, I suppose we can arrange for supply drops and regular check-ins." "That would be helpful," Amy said, not taking her eyes off Zara. "And I suppose you will need transportation eventually. When you are ready to move on to other sites," Zara spoke up. "I have a ship. It needs repairs, but it is functional." "Perfect." Brooks smiled. "It sounds like you have everything figured out." As the rescue ships prepared to leave, Amy said goodbye to her former crewmates. Lisa hugged her tightly. "Are you sure about this?" the captain asked. "More sure than I have ever been about anything." Vera grinned and clapped her on the shoulder. "You always were the adventurous type. Just try not to get eaten by anything nasty." Kaisha offered a formal salute. "It has been an honor working with you, Dr. Chen." "Just Amy now," she replied. "I am not officially a doctor of anything anymore." When the ships finally lifted off, Amy and Zara stood together watching them disappear into the sky. The planet felt very quiet after all the noise and activity. "So," Zara said eventually, "what do we do now?" Amy grinned. "Now we explore," We learn. We discover things no one has ever seen before, and we do it together. Together. They walked back toward the ruins, side by side. Amy felt lighter than she had in years. She had given up her old life, but she had gained something much more valuable. "I have a confession," Zara said as they reached the entrance to the underground city. "What kind of confession?" "I have been on this planet many times, but I never explored the ruins properly. I was always too focused on the immediate job to appreciate what was here." Amy laughed. "Then we will discover them together, like proper partners." "Proper partners," Zara agreed. That evening, they set up their permanent camp in the ancient chamber where they had spent so many nights. But now it felt different, like home instead of just shelter. Amy worked on her research notes while Zara cleaned and maintained her weapons. It was comfortable and peaceful, natural in a way that surprised them both. "Amy," Zara said softly. "Yes?" "Thank you." "For what?" "For seeing me as more than just a mercenary. For giving me a reason to hope." Amy set down her notes and moved to sit beside Zara. "Thank you for teaching me that some risks are worth taking." Outside their chamber, the ancient city stretched into darkness. Thousands of rooms and passages waiting to be explored. Mysteries waiting to be solved. Knowledge waiting to be discovered. But inside their small circle of light, two beings from different worlds had found something even more precious than ancient secrets. They had found each other. "So," Amy said, settling comfortably against Zara's shoulder, "where do we explore tomorrow?" Zara consulted a map they had made of the ruins. "There is a section to the east we have not seen yet. The symbols suggest it might be a library or research center." "Perfect. I love libraries. I thought you might." Amy smiled and closed her eyes. For the first time in her life, she was exactly where she belonged, with exactly the right person, ready for whatever adventures the universe might send their way. The partnership that had begun with a single curious glance had become something neither of them had expected, a bond that transcended species and culture, a love built on mutual respect and shared wonder at the mysteries of the cosmos. Some rescue missions saved your life. This one had saved something much more important. It had saved their hearts. And in the ancient ruins of a lost civilization, two explorers began writing the first chapter of their own incredible story. A story that would take them to distant worlds and dangerous places. A story of discovery and adventure and the kind of love that comes along once in a lifetime, if you are very lucky, and very brave enough to take the chance when it appears. Amy and Zara were both.